One of the most common questions I get asked here on my videos, and especially over on Instagram, is where I took a photo, and I'm always a little bit hesitant to answer. Let me explain why. I think my favorite part of the photography process is not the photos themselves, but the journey that takes place in between each time I take a photo. The story that only I know and that maybe you get a glimpse of in the photos or through the video. What you don't see are the countless hours spent searching on Google Maps or driving endlessly to find photo opportunities. There are many days that I set out to film a video, but I come home with nothing. Oftentimes it feels like these spots find me instead of the other way around. And I'm not just saying this to say, oh, if I put in the work to find these photo spots, then you should as well. It's a lot deeper than that. It's to protect and preserve these photo spots. Over the past 10 years that I've been a photographer, I've seen so many of my favorite spots to take photos just simply disappear or end up locked behind a chain link fence. And while sometimes that is inevitable, I don't want to be the person that speeds up that process. So in this video, I just want to talk about why so many photographers, myself included, gatekeep photo spots, and toward the end of the video, I do want to share one little tip that might help you out so that you don't have to ask and bother so many photographers about where they took a photo. Stick around till the end. Now, I know the topic of gatekeeping photography spots has been around for a long time, and some of the answers might be kind of obvious, but I always see people complain online about photographers gatekeeping photo spots, almost like they're a bit pretentious, or they're trying to keep these spots all to themselves, and that is 100% not the reason most of the time, I think. So let me give you guys a little bit of a backstory. Before I started taking the kind of photos that I do now, I used to primarily be a portrait photographer. So I would find these really cool photo spots and then I would take models there to shoot with them. And next thing I know, I would often see the same models taking other photographers to that same spot. And it usually would not be long until there was some kind of chain link fence or no trespassing signs, and the spot was just completely inaccessible, because it becomes a bit of a snowball effect. I take one model there, she takes another photographer there, that photographer ends up taking more models there, and before you know it, that spot is just completely inaccessible. You know, they would put up the no trespassing signs, they might have cameras put up, they might put up a gate, they might put up some kind of chain link fence. Most of the time they were usually rooftops or somewhere that I probably shouldn't have been going to. But you know, I feel like half of the fun with photography is that all of the best photo spots are typically behind no trespassing signs and probably places where you shouldn't be in the first place. Some people might give me a lot of flack for that. I don't care. I've just found that to be the case. That just comes from my own experience.
You can claim it as your own if you want.
Alright, this is gonna be my version of the photo. You guys tell us who did it better. Which leads me to the next reason why I tend to gatekeep these photography spots. A lot of these locations I photograph are probably places where the property owner doesn't really want people to be to begin with. So they might already have no trespassing signs up. So I'll try and just make it quick and get in and out and get the photos that I want and then move on. Now, I will say I've gotten pretty lucky. I've never had the cops called on me. I've had security kick me out of plenty of places, but that's usually in the cities. But you know, in more rural areas where you do have to drive and just search and find these spots and just hope that, you know, the stars align and you can get the photos that you want, I've always had pretty good luck. If I can, I will typically try and stop and ask maybe neighbors, or if I can possibly find the property owner, if it's okay if I stop and take some photos. There's an old saying that comes to mind, and that is, do as I say, not as I do. Because generally the last thing I want to do is promote other people trespassing and possibly breaking the law and result in them getting, trespassed or arrested. So when people ask me where I took a photo, I try and be somewhat vague about it. I might give them the general town or the road or wherever it was that I took the photo on, but I never give away the exact spot because I don't want to come off as pretentious or rude. I'm just trying to protect and preserve that spot. And I personally almost never ask a photographer where they took a photo. I find it a bit taboo, kind of like the age-old saying from non-photographers to photographers, oh, your camera takes really good photos. So I have one little trick up my sleeve that usually, I'd say maybe about like 75% of the time, tells me exactly where a photo spot is without me actually having to ask. So let me show you guys. So let's say you're scrolling on Instagram and you find a spot that you really want to photograph. So what I do is I just take a screenshot of said spot, and then I go over to Google Lens, put in that photo, and it will typically tell you exactly where that photo spot is. Sometimes it might not give you the exact address, sometimes it might not be entirely accurate, but I would say probably about 75–80% of the time, it gives you at least the county and generally the road where you can find that photo spot. The church I photographed at the beginning of this video, I found through Google Lens, and I drove 2–3 hours there just to photograph it. So personally, I think it's a good thing that photographers gatekeep photo spots. I'm gonna tell one more story and then I'm gonna wrap up this video. So there was an abandoned school not too far away from where I live that I used to love going to photograph. And there was usually a police officer or two that would kind of hang around there, you know, waiting for trespassers to show up. But it wasn't long before the address of that school became very public online, and a photographer decided to host some kind of photographer model meetup there. And there were like 50 people that came. And it wasn't long after that that it just ruined the spot for everyone, and the police just stepped up their security tenfold. And shortly afterwards, the school was demolished. And I think it might be an apartment building now. But that is happening more and more often nowadays, sadly. So let me know in the comments down below your opinions and your thoughts on photographers gatekeeping photo spots. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree with me. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe to help support the channel. And I hope I could inspire you guys to get out and take more photos. Go out and shoot.